Hi everybody and welcome to Get Indie Gaming. My name is Stuart James and today we're counting down 10 of the best looking indie games coming out this week across your favourite storefronts. While last week didn't see too many big name launches, many games that did were really great fun. Will we see the same kind of things this week? Well, let's find out. Up first, and as usual in no real particular order until the very pointy end of the rundown, Family Man is coming to Steam on Friday, May 22nd. I've played this one a few times over the last couple of years, and there's just something really rather dark about this RPG that could make it really rather special, particularly from a moral compass point of view, with it asking how far you'd go behind what's considered normal and largely acceptable for the sake of safekeeping your family. You see, in Family Man, you owe the mob money, and you've only 3 weeks to pay it back. You can choose an easy and honest approach to collecting the much needed cash, or you can go down a more dangerous and risky route that, while you may get the money quicker, in doing so you may destroy your family and the neighbourhood around you. If you fancy a further look at Family Man, as this video goes out there's a free demo to play which you can get hold of by way of its Steam homepage. And like always, there's a link to it and all of the other games down in the video description. At number 9, and out in early access on Steam this coming Thursday, May 21st, Embr is a fully tongue-in-cheek and utterly biting satirical take on the ever-emergent gig economy. Set within a society where the traditional emergency services you and I all know have gone, and having been replaced by something resembling an Uber or Lyft operation where you and up to 3 other players can all rush to fight fires, actually no, not to fight fires, to rescue the so-called valued clients, with of course the goal being not only to save the people in mortal danger, but also to get a decent review having done so. It's planned to be in early access for around 12 or so months, the time being used to add between 2 to 3 times more content, while also using player feedback to enhance the overall gameplay loops. It looks super silly and yet bags of fun to boot.
Welcome, pilot. A grand adventure is waiting for you.
Coming up next at number 8, Red Wings Aces of the Skies looks to be an offering that kind of seems to mix arcade action dogfighting with simulation. That puts you all suited and booted into the cockpit of more than 10 historical warplanes from the era of the First World War, where you're able to choose your kites from the Entente powers or the Triple Alliance. It's been a long time since I played a really good airborne battler such as this, and with it coming with more than 50 different story-driven campaign modes, with the addition of a 2-player local co-op option, this could be the type of aerial dogfighting game to tide me over until the Falconeer comes out towards the end of the year. I'm really intrigued to see how the game handles all this from a historical perspective. It's promising a game where you're able to see the birth, rise and fall of the infamous Red Baron, Manfred von Richthofen, who with over 80 credited victories was one of the best known pilots at the time. You can choose his squadron, or even lead the hunt to take him down with the campaign story mode, with it naturally enough having 2 different tranches to it. It looks super interesting, and I'm hoping to be able to stream this on launch day over on my new Twitch channel. So if you haven't yet seen it or followed me over on that platform, you can do so via the link in the description, and perhaps the card you can see on screen right now. Up next, at this week's number 7, Dracula Genesis instantly grabbed my attention a week or so ago, with its visuals coming right out of the aesthetics of the 16-bit games of my somewhat distant past. There's something so very Amiga about all of this in what's a super tough as nails, and I really mean that. It's one of the hardest looking games of the year so far and will likely... No, I think it's going to be above me, although I can sure as heck give it a go. On paper, it makes excellent reading. There's the usual procedural generation, tons of upgradable weapons, spells, perks and other such upgrades, and magical devices with which you're able to find a playstyle that, well, suits how you fancy playing the game. I'll probably go all-out brawler, although I suspect I'll dabble with a touch of magic here and there. This one comes out in early access on May 22nd. The game has been in development for the best part of 5 years, and we understand it's launching in a pretty decent and polished state. The devs expect the full launch later this year with 5 more playable characters and even more content to add to the 1,200 items already in the game. Dracula Genesis looks massively ambitious. Will I be able to play it and get very far though? That's the question. I'll find out this coming Friday. Already out on PC and via Apple Arcade, What the Golf gets a port onto the Nintendo Switch this coming week, and with it, we get the addition of a new local two-person couch co-op option, which as the video goes live isn't available on the other platforms just yet. The two-player option sees you go head-to-head in whatever mode the game decides to throw at you, over an 11 or so hole course before finishing off with an open arena battle brawler. As you can expect, it's super wacky and zany, and having already reviewed it for the channel, it gives new and returning players a great reason to go pick this game up alongside the single player, which again is a fabulous way of playing a sport I usually have little interest in. Either way, What the Golf is arguably the best game that's not really about golf you can play on any given platform. At number 5, and already out across various platforms, Monster Prom XXL gets a launch onto the Nintendo Switch on May 21st. So while it is a port, it does come with a second term DLC, alongside any seasonal other content that's been released for the other gaming systems. In Monster Prom XXL, you're perhaps naturally enough playing as a monster, and you've only got a few weeks to go until the big prom night. You know what? As it stands, you've yet to find a date for the event. In essence, this is really an excellently packaged and put together dating simulator for up to 4 people within local and online co-op, and if you haven't bought this one already, given the new version is the definitive all-round package, then getting it on the Switch seems a sound option. Number 4, Cannibal Cuisine is, I suspect, very much looking to be like Overcooked, but with cannibalism in the same way as Graveyard Keeper did something similar to Stardew Valley. Unlike the Overcooked series though, in this one you're making and mixing up various ingredients with the flesh and whatnots of various tourists, all to keep the great god Hu Chu Bu happy. With a local and online co-op offering for up to 4 players, and while it's easy to pass this one off as an overlooked copy, with cartoon violence as a side order, there seems to be enough twists and turns in the gameplay to make it a tribute rather than a copy and paste. Cannibal Cuisine comes to Steam on May 20th, and if you want to try before you buy, you can get hold of a demo on the Steam homepage. As of course, you can find a link to that down in the description. At this month's number 3, we have Maneater, in what's being called by others as one of the ultimate power fantasies. Here you get to play as a huge and somewhat bad-tempered shark, all within an open-world single-player RPG. You start off as a little shark pup, and having survived long enough to gorge yourself up the food chain, you're free to go about exploring the world where you're able to interact with a huge number of characters, both animal and human. As you do, you keep growing and generally bring about all sorts of havoc to anything that gets in your way. It just looks, well, delightfully silly, and I mean that in a good way. Okay, I think as the saying goes, it's probably going to be one of those Marmite kind of games. I'm not too sure if that translates as well, although by this I think it means there'll be a limited middle ground on the opinions once it's out. I suspect people will either adore it or think it's just really not for them, and won't give it much of a try. It just looks so over the top, and as my grandmother might have once said, so very unnecessary, and in so doing, we can't wait to see how it actually plays. Maneater comes to PCs via Epic and all of this generation's consoles on May 22nd.
Once upon a time, there was a boy, an orphan without a single toy. His name was Pete.
Already out on Apple Arcade, with it coming to Steam and GOG on May 20th. Neversong, originally called Once Upon a Coma, features an orphan boy called Pete within a puzzle platformer that looks and feels just so very full of melancholy, which isn't surprising given the subject matter at hand. Pete's recently awoken from a coma, although having done so, he finds the world full of freakish creatures and children, and while he finds things familiar, he knows there's something not quite right. Fittingly, it begins with a warning that Neversong is a moving story of loss and of hope, with it containing themes including traumatic death that some may find emotionally upsetting. What's also followed is by something even more important. To those who suffer, we know that you're not alone. Please ask for help. Now this is on paper a fascinating offering, with the colours and faded nature of the visuals being exceptionally striking, with it also having hordes of bosses, monsters and bloodthirsty grown-ups to deal with. I'm going to approach this one with caution, and while I'm looking forward to seeing more of it and getting to play it, it may be a tad too close to the bone. I hope to have a full review out over the next couple of days after this video airs. At number 1 for new games out this week, we have If Found, a visual novel from a team based out of Dublin, with it looking absolutely outstanding. Set within December 1993 in the west of Ireland, this hand-drawn visual stunner has you reading through and shredding the diary entries of Cassio, a young woman returning to her family on an island just off the mainland. If Found promises a potent and ultimately hopeful journey touching upon family, friendship, isolation and connection, while looming within a parallel story, we have a black hole due to consume the world come New Year's Eve of the same year. If Found is just that little bit different and comes to Steam and iOS on May the 19th. So that's it for another week of new game releases. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and as always, many thanks for watching this video and others. Do subscribe if you like the channel for all things indie gaming. I look forward to seeing you all again here soon for more indie game videos.